Can I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved. Second.
A motion and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And none opposed. 2, community announcements. Members of the audience may make announcements regarding community events. Ms. Kathy.
Plain Crazy Saturday is coming up on the 21st of December. And Dick Rutan has written a book called The Next 5 Minutes. And the reason they chose that title is he often thinks about sitting in the Voyager with Gina Yeager on the runway, even though they've done many, many test flights, wondering what's the next 5 minutes going to be like. Are we going to live? Or are we going to die? And when they push those throttles forward and he's roaring down the, well, not roaring at first, it took a while. He took the whole runway at Edwards. And then those wingtips dropped down and the kid's scraping off the winglets. And it was, she's calling off the numbers because when he reached a certain speed, was it 85? I think it was something like that. Then he could pull back on the stick. And I still remember hearing Bert say, "Dick, pull back on the stick!" Because he's flying in the Duchess with Fitz Fulton. And, oh, was it Mike Melville? Maybe it was Mike. But anyway, finally he pulls back and the wings came up. And they lifted off. And they did go around the world, unrefueled, non-stop, in 9 days, 3 minutes, 44 seconds. And what a story to tell. But in this book, it's not only the Voyager story, but kind of his life story. And he starts out when he was quite young, and how he crashed the model airplanes, and Bert would pick up the pieces and design a new airplane. But I think it'll be an interesting talk. I know this room will be full. That's why we take reservations, and I'll have to tell people, sorry, no more room. But December 21st, the talk will be at 11 a.m., and it's a book signing, and he'll have these books here to sell, and I believe they're $34.95, and you can go online to www.dickertan.com, I think, and order a book if you want it. But should be a good event to cap off our 10th year of Plain Crazy Saturday. Hard to believe we're going to start 11 years next year. And I think of all the people that have loved Plain Crazy Saturday, I often think of Tom McMurtry. He just loved coming to this. And we've lost so many people like him. And we were just talking about Wynn Painter, and of course Joanne served on the board for many years. And it's just hard to lose family members and people who are friends that are like family. And I think that's what we have here at the airport. It is a family. So thank you for your time, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Any other community announcements? Yes, sir.
Yes, Rosemond has an announcement about the light parade coming up Saturday at 6 p.m. and then it'll be streamed online the following Tuesday. It's an annual event going on for many years, so if you want to put a float in it, call the Chamber of Commerce.
Very good. Any other community announcements? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine and non-controversial and will be approved by one motion unless a member of board, staff, or public to remove an item to an action item. Anybody from the audience? Any board member? Any motioned?
Motion.
And seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Number 4, action items. R.C. Becker and Sons Perimeter Road Change Order Number 5, staff report, please.
Good afternoon. So we submitted 2 separate change orders so far on the survey work that needed to be done on the perimeter road. And this is now the third change order. Ultimately, they were submitting financially anyway. That would need board approval. As a result of the survey work that was done, there's some additional dirt work that needs to be completed. So the change order that you're approving is actually for, well, hopefully for $159,562. But because of the change in the survey work, they're actually issuing a credit of the $120,000. So the net change overall is $38,647. So I ask for your approval today. This was a result of the change in the survey work that was completed.
Is there any public comment? Is there any board comment?
Didn't I ask last time if there was going to be any more change orders? Or was that another item?
Oh, so for the survey work, we knew that because of the additional work that was gone into, they put into the survey work, we assumed that would be a change to the construction. We just didn't know until we received this from them. So when I presented the second change order, that was the last one for the survey work to be done. We don't know for sure that this is going to be the last change order for the construction either, by the way. So, because they broke out the construction work in essentially two different phases. So this is potentially one of a couple change orders. Do you know, Floyd, do you have any indication from them whether there might be another one coming?
Excuse me. I don't have any indication. I don't expect any more.
Okay.
Once this additional material has been brought in, then the next phase is to apply the soil cement and be complete. So there's really little work to be done in between where we're currently at.
Right.
With this change order, where are we relative to cost incurred versus the
I believe it's there's a change order log as part of the attachment, and I believe we're 3.9% over.
Yeah.
Not bad.
So just if you recall, the board has so far approved two change orders. That was just for the pre-engineering work. So we assumed that there was going to be a change to the construction project itself based on the pre-engineering.
So it's 4%, 3.99.
Any other board comment? Accept a motion?
Motion to approve.
Ms. Nichol?
Second.
A motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Item B on action items, Virgin Orbit, reciprocal waiver of claims and assumption of responsibility, staff report, please.
So just to remind the board, what we're asking for the board to approve today, the waiver of claims is a federal law. If you remember, any commercial space operator operating at a commercial spaceport has to have the spaceport sign this waiver of claims in order for them to conduct operations there. This is the same type of waiver that they would have any of their other contractors sign. In the eyes of the federal government, we are seen as a contractor by providing the property to Virgin to do the launches here. So this is the same waiver that the board had approved for Virgin Galactic back in May. But Virgin Orbit, as a separate entity, would also require the same waiver. And just to plant the seed, once Strata Launch gets up and running, they're going to have the same requirement from FAA as well.
Mr. Nava, you have no problems with this, no?
Oh, I think we have many problems with it,
You work through
and
that?
we have spoken with FAA about it. We've gone round and round with Virgin about it, but this is what federal regulations require if you want to be a spaceport. And so I think this is something that the board needs to approve if that's what it wants to do. I'm not happy with the law. I don't like how it's written. I don't like the burdens it places on the various parties, but that's neither here nor there for our purposes today.
Is there any public comment? Any board comment?
I just had a question. What is Virgin Oregon going to be operating out of here the way they're going to be operating all over the world, aren't they?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
England.
They will do their first launch from here in the coming months. We don't know exactly when. They'll probably do a couple of launches from here before they move on to their next location. But they're essentially marketing the opportunity to sell for payloads as a mobile platform, so they can launch anywhere and anywhere. So just to remind the board, though, because of these agreements and because of the additional risk that we're taking on, we are requiring our space operators to carry additional insurance in the event of an incident. So, the reason this becomes an issue between us and our operators potentially is by signing the waiver, we're essentially saying we acknowledge that we can't sue them, but because they have the insurance policy, we could potentially sue the insurance company. That's kind of how the FAA looks at it. So I do feel confident that our infrastructure will be covered in the event of an incident. This waiver is just specifying that we can't say that Virgin is on the hook for any damage.
Is this going to cause our insurances to go up?
So we did get a separate policy about a year ago. It's a $10 million policy for just additional pavement damage of any kind, not necessarily related to space operations, but just from an additional protection of the concrete and pavement itself, above and beyond the general policy. So our insurance broker basically explains that because it's a federal law, we can't get rejected from getting insurance if we wanted to get additional coverage.
Any other board comment or questions?
Well, we're a spaceport, and I want to continue to be a spaceport.
Take the motion.
I make the motion.
Second.
So motion second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Motion passes. Item 5, reports. Financial report, please, for the audit fiscal year 18-19.
It's the one I'm waiting for. I want to see the guys.
Good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be here. For the record, my name is Andy Paulin. I'm a CPA and a partner with Brown Armstrong Accountancy Corporation. I am the partner responsible for all auditing and accounting services provided to your organization. And pleasure to be here today, as I said, to present to you the results of our audit of your June 30th, 2019 financial statements. I always like to start out by just reminding everyone what the purpose of an audit is, why you engage us. So as you know, each year your organization prepares a set of financial statements whereby, as a part of providing that information, you assert or represent that all of the financial information contained therein is fairly presented in accordance with GAAP or generally accepted accounting principles. It's our responsibility as an independent audit organization to conduct an audit engagement in accordance with our professional standards and render a written opinion as to whether or not your assertions and representations are in fact accurate. That opinion accompanies the financial statements and gives users or readers of those financial statements kind of a good housekeeping seal of approval, if you will, that someone outside the organization is taking responsibility for those statements as well. I wanted to briefly go over the audit process, kind of what it is we do and why. First and foremost, we realize that you have internal and statutory deadlines to meet your obligations in terms of preparing and distributing your financial statements. And so we establish what we call our critical dates list, or a timeline, if you will. Make sure that everybody's on the same page moving forward, kind of work back from the deliverable dates, and set the benchmarks, if you will, update that throughout the process to make sure that we deliver on time as expected. The cornerstone of our audit engagement is our understanding and evaluation of your internal controls. Your internal controls are all of the checks and balances that you have put in place to ensure that all your financial transactions are properly recorded and reported in the financial statement. So we do that through a number of means, both inquiry and observation, building upon our understanding and evaluation from prior years, taking into consideration any changes that have occurred throughout the organization in the current year. Once we've developed that, then we determine the amount and extent of all of our substantive audit procedures. When we're conducting our engagement, obviously your very capable staff provides us not only the financial statements, but the underlying supporting information. A wise man once said, trust but verify, and so as a part of our audit process, we do just that through the confirmation process. Anytime that we can confirm information from outside third parties and corroborate that, compare that to the information provided from within this organization, we consider that better audit evidence, if you will. So certainly your bank accounts is a key component of the confirmation process. With the advent and improvement, if you will, of pension reporting, CalPERS is a big part of our confirmation process, and their actuaries and the actuarial studies that are done for your organization and that organization as a whole, as well as reaching out to your legal counsel to make sure we have knowledge of any commitments or contingencies that may have to be reported or disclosed in the financial statement. So those are the two key components of our audit process, if you will. While we're waiting for the books to be closed, we conduct what we call our interim processes, or testing your controls, reviewing minutes, just kind of developing our overall audit plan. Once that's occurred, we're provided with draft financials. We conduct what we call our final field work, And that's where we substantiate all the amounts and disclosures in your financial statements. Culmination of that brief overview of the process brings us to where we are today, and that's the presentations of our reports to you. Before I get to those reports, which I know you're all waiting for, I like to go through just kind of some of the significant audit areas that we focus on in your engagement. And pursuant to our professional standards, we have to take a risk-based approach to our engagement. When an auditor talks about risk, we stand back and we look at the organization as a whole, as well as its financial statements, its reporting processes, and identify where there's a higher risk or probability, possibility, if you will, that there could be errors, irregularities, or misstatements in your financial statements. That could be based on materiality, it could be based on the size, if you will, of the dollar values that are being reported in the financial statements. It could be the magnitude of transactions that are going through a particular transaction class, or just the complexity of a particular transaction class. So with that understanding, one key area are your capital assets, that's your infrastructure, if you will. Those are things that are long-serving assets, if you will. You expend money for those, you capitalize them, you depreciate them. We have to look at all the methodologies for depreciation and do a final test for valuation assessment and usefulness, if you will, going forward. I talked about our reach out to CalPERS and their actuaries as it relates to the pension reporting that's now required. So we spent a significant amount of effort in that area. That's kind of relatively new and a somewhat complex area for disclosures. Accounts receivables are a big component of your financial statements, and so we want to look at collectability and also valuation, and coupling that with the revenue recognition that you have from all of the various revenue sources that come into this organization. And then finally, a risk area just defined by statute is kind of our what we refer to as the single audit. It's an act that came out when I first started way back in 1984, and it's certainly been refined and improved since then. But it requires that we look at your expenditures under major federal programs, and the Airport Improvement Program met that criteria for this year. And so we audited that program, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that component or single audit represents in regards to our audit processes and deliverables. So with kind of that background, I want to get into the important part, and that's our delivery of your audit reports. The first is our independent auditor's report on the financial statements. I talked about what that means. That is on page 1 of your financial statements. And I'm pleased to report that we've issued an unmodified or clean opinion whereby we do opine that your financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with GAAP. That is the highest opinion that an independent audit firm can issue, and your organization is to be congratulated on that. Truthfully, that's quite an accomplishment. I'm going to date myself a little bit here, and Mr. Evans can attest to this also. When we started our practice way back when, it was a one-page, 3-paragraph document. I guess in the ease of, or the interest of simplicity, transparency, whatever you want to call it, you can see how many paragraphs and pages it is now. But nonetheless, bottom line is clean opinion, and congratulations on that. I talked about the fact that we are subjected, or we have to follow certain audit procedures, if you will, or standards in the conduct of our audit. Not only do we have our standard AICPA issued audit standards, but anytime we conduct a governmental type organization audit such as this, we have to follow what are oftentimes referred to as the Yellow Book standards. They're technically are called the government auditing standards. It deals a lot with our qualifications, our training, our expertise, our oversight of our staff, how we review the work papers, the overall engagement, et cetera. But the flip side is it also requires that we take a look at your internal controls, and also at your compliance with applicable laws and regulations that could have had a material impact on your financial statements. Through that testing, we're obligated to issue a report in regards to our findings. I'm pleased to, and this is on page 34 of your financial statements, I'm pleased to report that we did not identify any weaknesses in your internal controls, nor did we identify any instances of non-compliance. So again, congratulations on the clean report.